Hello and welcome. We are very excited to have you here today. Thank you for joining us for our Lunch and Learn. We are going to be providing you with valuable insights and answer any questions that you may have as we go. Next, here at Alpharank, we have the largest first-party data set from click to funded application based on 7.5 plus, almost 8 billion events across hundreds of financial institutions. And the data that we are seeing aligns with what we are seeing across the board. We're in a volatile economic environment. Given this current economic uncertainty, you need to be as effective as possible in everything you do. Thus, it is important to get the most from every dollar you spend to convert more of the business that is out there during these times. Specifically, our first party data shows that month over month, American consumers continue to reduce their demand for financial services, except for unsecured lending and personal loans. Approved applications for personal loans posted double-digit growth in June versus May, while approved credit card applications were up 6%. Meanwhile, approved vehicle loan applications were flat, deposits were down 1%, and approved home lending applications were also down by 13%. This shows that consumer sentiment is very low with this decrease in home lending and deposits and a large increase in personal loans and credit cards. We do publish our monthly trends data on our website each month if you'd like to dive in further. In this time of economic insecurity, whether driving loans or deposits, you have to get the most out of your expenditures and prove what is working and what you are delivering, as there just is less business to win. I will now turn it over to Brandon, who can show you exactly how to do this for your financial institution. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Elizabeth. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. I'm Brandon, first and foremost, one of the business development managers here at Alpharank. And when we look across the online and digital landscape for banks and credit unions, what we're seeing is that the ground rules for growing and staying competitive have really changed. So if you've looked at Alpharank in the past, or if we've spoken with your team previously, we want to challenge you to take this opportunity to look at this problem through a completely updated lens today. Because right now, your executive teams aren't asking, digital and marketing for more impressions, more clicks, more views, or view through conversions. Executive teams that we're talking to are asking pointed questions, namely, where are the funded loans? Where are the funded deposits? Now, most financial institutions really struggle when trying to answer those questions because fundamentally, tracking breaks mid-journey. You've got a data black hole right in the middle of the process that makes it nearly impossible to link funded outcomes to the specific originating marketing campaigns or what have you. The disconnect is then worsened because you fundamentally are operating with siloed teams, lending, marketing, digital ops, each operating with different metrics and objectives. So we dissolve those silos by measuring the entire journey, click to fund it, and provide you a comprehensive, unified view that aligns the whole organization around the same data and objectives. And this is why we challenge teams to really rethink the digital funnel and what exactly we mean when we talk about conversions. Because the digital branch isn't just an application form, it's the entire journey. The journey doesn't start at, the app start. It doesn't convert at app submission. The journey really begins with the first click, and it really only converts when money actually changes hands. Funded loans and the deposited dollars are the only metrics that Alpharank thinks matter for measuring and optimizing your digital spend. So when you don't connect those dots, you fall straight into three very expensive traps that we see repeat themselves time and again. The first is the vanity metric trap. Marketers can only optimize to what they can see and measure. So because your marketing budget ultimately doesn't have visibility into what happens further down funnel after the initial click, you end up paying a premium to optimize for traffic and lookers instead of actual folks booking accounts and loans. Very simply, you're optimizing your spend for traffic instead of balance sheet activity. Now, the second trap we see is the leak in the bucket. You guys are spending, a lot of time, energy, and money to drive folks into your digital process. Folks click apply now, encounter a little bit of friction, and then ultimately they abandon the process somewhere along the way. Without a tool like Alpharank that can identify for you down to the page, field, question where folks are encountering that friction and dropping out, it's nearly impossible to close those gaps. And then finally, the quality gap. And this is where unoptimized marketing activity really hurts operations. So you can drive a massive wave of, completed applications. But if those applicants have poor credit, for example, then you're not growing the online branch. You are paying ad dollars to clutter up the underwriting queue, slow down your loan officers, and drive up your overall cost per funded application. So Alpharank was built to permanently close that gap. We don't replace any of your existing systems. We serve as an intelligence layer that plugs directly into your website and maps seamlessly to the outcomes coming out of your account opening and loan origination systems. So we pull your digital acquisition out of the dark by connecting front end activity directly to back end balance sheet results. Our proprietary data model, like Lisbeth alluded to at the beginning of the call, has been developed by us in-house first and foremost. It's proprietary, but it's been trained on more than 7 billion first-party data events that we've collected from more than 250 financial institutions in the United States. We only work with financial institutions only in the United States, so the whole thing has been built with regulated entities like you in mind. By default, we don't touch, collect, store any of your member or customer PII, so it's privacy safe out of the box. The implementation is typically seamless, taking most just a matter of minutes to complete. And the coolest part is that we are going to provide everyone here who would like to engage a complimentary competitive assessment where we'll let you plug our tool in absolutely free. We'll benchmark your performance as it stands today, along with providing a set of data-driven, actionable recommendations on how you guys can proactively go out and drive more. And we'll leave a QR code up at the end of the call where you can claim yours. Now, to show you exactly what this end-to-end visibility looks like in practice, I'm going to walk you through a workspace for a financial institution that we've been working with since 2023. So this is the Alpharank workspace. And when this financial institution came to us, they were overlent. The CFO, who's now the CEO of the organization, his mandate was to really transform deposit generation through digital channels. And as you can see, when we began working with them, their deposit production was relatively anemic. Through continuous optimization and relentless refinement, we've helped them to explode that number up and away to the right, as you see, as is always the goal. Now, the first thing that most folks want to do when they come into the platform is give themselves the ability to see their business at a glance. So, for example, how was the month of June? And because we have this long historical data with this client, we can show how June compared to last June. So seasonality is taken care of here. You can see that visitors, app starts, and apps received are all up. Apps approved and funded are up. So the stuff that we really care about is looking really healthy. And we've got full funnel metrics from start rate all the way through to funding in this year-over-year comparison. Now, the next question that we need to answer is, was this performance just us, or were we experiencing a rising tide that lifts all boats? So we go to the growth benchmark report here, and we can see that our client, in terms of approved applications, grew at a rate of 14% year over year, compared to the industry median of 12%. And it looks like that overperformance comes down to significant overperformance in deposit generation, 39% growth year over year versus the industry median 4%, and outperformance in home lending. So big kudos to the marketing and ops team for delivering those results and vastly outperforming the rest of the industry. From there, we can get granular and dive into the individual applications and determine where we might be experiencing abandonment, but more importantly, how that abandonment compares to our peer group and if it's excessive. So this component that we're looking at here is a look inside of this client's actual vehicle lending application, starting at App Start. It progresses field by field, showing you how many individuals survived and made it to that next step in the application, all the way through to application complete, so you can get a sense of the distinct points of abandonment. But where it gets more helpful is the high-level journey map. Because we've collected boatloads of data, we're able to provide each of our clients a benchmark, a composite of the top quartile of financial institutions in our broader data set that look the most like the client in question in terms of total assets under management, products being offered, systems being used, field of membership or seg limitations, lots of points of consideration taken into building out the benchmark. But then we compare the journey like for like, starting at the top of the website and progressing through the major milestones these folks are going to hit on the way to application complete. So the next major milestone is the product pages that are actually feeding the application itself. Our client here is exceeding the benchmark by 50% or so. So the marketing team is crushing it at delivering pressure to those landing pages. Their big point of abandonment is right there on the product pages, because by the time we get to App Start, they've lost that advantage. They're now at parity with the benchmark data set. The great news for them is that they've done a lot of work in the recent past to really optimize inside of the application. So you see them start to pull away from the benchmark once folks actually get inside of the application. That's optimized about as good as it's going to get, but you do have an optimization opportunity right here on these product pages where you're simply not pulling enough individuals through to the application. Our tool, it picks up the pages that are actually feeding the application. Immediate offenders are the top two traffic pages that you see there, converting at 12 and 13% respectively. We would be looking for something exceeding closer to 25% for a benchmark of healthy. Now, when marketers are trying to hone in and really, determine how do I go out and drive more, it all really starts with looking at the touch points that led into an application. So essentially, what is the conversion path? And we can see, the top line for this financial institution, 1,070 applications or so in the month that we're looking at, 390 approved, 362 funded. So what channels actually touched or had an influence on those approved applications? So we can see here that the most influential was Google Ads. It touched the most. What counts emails that we're sending out. You see Chat GPT there. So we get a sense of the influence that these channels are having, and then we can dive further in. So if you are curious and want to know whether Google Ads is mostly a first, middle, or last touch impact, you can dive into the actual composition of those journeys, where, here we see we received 77 applications where we just one-shotted. It served one Google ad. One impression was good enough to pull those individuals in, and we got 19 approved applications out of it. Or, this situation where we had to impression someone multiple times before they actually came through and completed that application, or they interacted with multiple different channels before we got the application in. From there, once we've got all the touch points, we're able to break this out into a more digestible report that, frankly, any executive can look at. And the question that we're asking here is, what's moving the needle? So I've sorted this by dollars booked. You can see very clearly in terms of dollars booked, Google Ads is what is driving production. And we've got the full funnel here, from visitors to app starts and how many folks actually completed to what got approved, what funded, and for how much, along with a normalized value per visitor metric that allows you the at-a-glance ability to compare across channels how they're monetizing for the financial institution and where you would really like to place your bets. For example, would I rather, place my bets on Google Ads monetizing at $57.63 a visitor, Would I want to over-index on emails that I'm sending out to my members at $18.91 a visitor? Do I want to bet on Meta, which to this point in the last month or so has produced nil for me out of all of the visitors that I've paid for from them? So you essentially get the roadmap for exactly what is producing the funded accounts and loans. And then going a little bit further, in terms of once the funnel is optimized, then it's a matter of continuously refining and optimizing your paid campaigns. So, for example, we're looking here at some very granular return on ad spend reporting from this client's Google Ads spend. And you can see that in the time period we're looking at, they spent $141,000 to net $1.82 million in expected income. I will do that all day. 1,192% return on ad spend. But then we can look at this in a disaggregated way. And when we do that, we see that, it's really 4 or 5 campaigns that are driving all of the alpha. There's, a tail of 4 or 5 campaigns that are of middling profitability, and then a long tail of experiments that we've run in this time period that, quite frankly, are not working. And we would be better served to allocate some of this budget away from the reds and into the greens, much as you would aim to do with your stock portfolio. So that is really Alpharank in a nutshell. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the call, we would love to provide each of you a complimentary competitive assessment where we'll let you plug it in. We'll show you everything that we walked through today applied to your own data, benchmark your performance against your most comparable peer group, and provide you some recommendations for things you could easily optimize or tweak for better results going forward. And I will leave this QR code up so you can claim yours while we open the floor up for questions.
Thank you. That was wonderful, Brandon. Yes, please do just drop your questions into the Q&A. If you want to ask anything live, raise your hand and I can unmute you as well. We're happy to answer anything you may have, however big or small. And then to begin, we have a few here, Brandon, that might be helpful as we get going. So one says, our IT team is backed up for months. Can you touch a little bit more upon what the implementation might look like and how much heavy lifting would be required from our internal tech team?
Yeah, so almost none is the answer, almost no involvement. It's a small HTML code snippet that you simply copy, paste, and publish into a Google Tag Manager container that ideally lives on your website and inside of your application instances, if that answers your question. Typically, it takes a matter of minutes to install. Lisbeth, you're muted.
So sorry about this. Michelle, I have allowed you to talk if you'd like to ask your questions here live to Brandon.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, I was looking at this. This is my second time through, so I appreciate y'all holding this again. And we have Meridian Link, and do you integrate with them, or is this a layover? How does this exactly work if there's no real IT, integration? And then we also have Keystone as our core. Do you also then report anything to do with the core, or is it just with like the LOS, which also does our deposit accounts as well?
Yeah, it's we don't touch your core. We rely on the outcomes of the applications that are running through your systems. We do integrate with Meridian Link. Meridian Link is one of our closest partners, and they actually resell the Alpharank solution to their clients in some instances. So the deployment there is very simple. So for a number of clients, they have the ability to self-serve Google Tag Manager. In that instance, you would just place the tag like I described before. If you don't have the ability to self-serve with your Meridian Link instance, we would partner with your Meridian Link account executive to get the tag placed on the back end and run from there, if that answers your question, Michelle.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And we'll definitely get you the recording after this as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Brandon, someone would like to know a little bit more for the 50% increase in funded loans and deposits. How quickly do the credit unions or banks typically start to see those kinds of optimizations based on all of these results after switching to Alpharank?
Yeah, awesome. So we typically find that there's usually quite a bit of low-hanging fruit that can be immediately cleaned up in the journey. What we've seen is, on average, within the first 6 months or less, our clients are averaging that 50% lift in funded activity through digital channels. Sometimes it does happen significantly faster. I believe we've got a case study where those results came in a matter of a month, I believe. We just signed a client in December who by June was on webinar with us talking about his 50% growth in deposit accounts year over year. So it's typically about 6 months.
Thank you. Okay, just one more here, unless anyone else has any questions, please do write in. So just a little bit digging further into the free competitive assessment. What do you actually need from our credit union to run that, and what does the final report show us?
So the final reporting would look exactly like the workspace that we walked through during the call. All of those reports would be available, applied to your own data. We would give you a set of recommendations, typically three or so action items that we see indicated in the data that can be easily tweaked, modified, or optimized for better performance going forward. In terms of what we need from you, we would simply need you to place our tag. We would let the tag run in the background and collect data for 2 to 3 weeks or so, enough time to get a sample size of data worth analyzing for you. And then we would just ask for a one-time report from your application backend. If you're using Meridian Link or Clutch or whatever system you're using, we would just need a report that tells us the outcomes of the applications you've produced in that time. No information about the applicant, just a timestamp of when it came in, what product was being applied for, did you approve it, did it fund, and for how much is essentially what we need. And then our machines are able to stitch that together with the clickstream data, and we host a workspace for you, hop on a Zoom, and walk through it with you.
Thank you for that, Brandon. I see, Michelle, there, your question. I will send you that after this. That sounds wonderful. And then, Chris, I didn't know if you wanted to ask your question. I've unmuted you. If you like to ask it directly to Brandon about your systems.
Yes, we're actually converting from Origins to Sync One. I was just curious if you do the same thing with Sync One that you do with Meridian Link.
Yeah, could you repeat the question for me?
We are presently converting. Actually, we'll be moving our application LOS into Sync One, and wondering if you work through them.
Yeah, that will not be a problem whatsoever.
Great, thanks.
Wonderful. Yes, I think we work with 40 plus systems, so I'm happy to support you all. I have another question here, Brandon, if you could explain, can you please explain again the installation of the Alpharank snippet, we call it here a tag, as well as what data it collects and how? Is it a client-side JavaScript that collects the client session data from the browser and that data is collected and analyzed by Alpharank?
Uh, that is a little bit more technical than I probably have the ability to give you a satisfactory answer for. So what I can do is, after the call ends here, we can send out a handy document that outlines exactly everything that our tag touches, the how it works essentially, and everything that we collect in that back end reporting as well. And I can once again outline the implementation process for you.
That sounds great. Yep, we have all that, the Google side. We have a document and a video too. If perhaps you could drop your email or chat it to me directly there. I just see anonymous attendee. We will be sure to send it to you after. Yes, I can send that to everyone. Michelle, wonderful. We have a video as well. Great. Are there other questions here for Brandon or myself? Otherwise, I believe that we have answered all the questions. So I will send this, as mentioned, the recording out to everybody. I will send the gift card for the lunch as well. And then we will send that video and tag installation document as well. Any other questions? We are very happy to be connected and answer anything that we can for you. Okay. Thank you so
Thanks,
much for your
y'all.
time. Take
Everybody
care.
have a fantastic day.
Bye.